Stay tuned for episode 54 of Veteran on the Move as I'm talking with Army veteran and transition expert Dylan Raymond, founder of Rucksack to Briefcase.
Hey, this is Zach Bob from Crowdfund Genius, and you're listening to Joe Crane, the brilliant mind behind Veteran on the Move, the one-stop shop to get from the military to entrepreneurship.
Welcome to Veteran on the Move. If you're a veteran in transition, an entrepreneur wannabe, or someone still stuck in that JOB trying to escape, this podcast is dedicated to your success. And now, your host, Joe Crane.
Dylan Raymond is president and founder of Rucksack to Briefcase. Dylan is a transition expert that made successful transitions from employee to business owner, financial destruction to financial health, college student to college graduate, and military service to civilian employed. Dylan, thanks for being here. Welcome to Veteran on the Move. Before we get started talking about business and entrepreneurship, take us back a few years ago and tell us what you're doing when you're in the Army.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much, Joe, for having me on the show, on this podcast. Just a little bit about me. My name is Dylan Raymond. Had a very, very successful military career. In fact, I still serve today in the Army Reserves. Initially started out as an optician, as an E1, as an optician, and quickly advanced through the ranks. I was selected to serve as a drill instructor as well as a recruiter, a field recruiter, which are two of the most challenging, in my opinion, roles in the Army. Deployed twice. And once I came back from deployment, I heard about this thing called a warrant officer. And I applied and I was appointed to warrant officer in 2006. So a great career in the Army, phenomenal opportunity, leadership roles, developing people, and also deploying as well.
Outstanding. Now, I see here it says you, on the enlisted side, you were a master sergeant before you became a warrant officer. Is that common in the Army to end up being that senior before you go over to warrant officer?
In fact, it's not. Very few do that, and people, even today, they get quite, taken aback, because you do have a few people in that transfer over from that senior level. But it actually helped me out to transition when I went in and was appointed as a W1 because of my enlisted senior rank and had that experience with me.
Okay. Well, great. So go back to when you left active duty. What was your transition like out of the Army trying to find a civilian job? I know you're still in the reserves, but that probably doesn't keep you busy enough all in all. So you are doing something civilian-wise. And how did you arrive at that?
Yeah, well, when I came back 2005, I was released from active duty, just came back from a deployment to Iraq. Had a lot of experience at that time. I was in E8. So I thought, wow, this is going to be a seamless transition. Corporate America wants me. I have a lot of experience. So it was a wake-up call for me, actually. I started applying for roles, and, they talked about this thing called a resume. And I'm like, what is that? Just tell me what I need to do, and I can get it done for you, and it talked about behavioral interview questions. You had to go through this interview process. So it was a little struggle for me initially. In fact, then I started practicing, started networking, and meeting people that helped me to shape, to more of shape what I brought to the table and be able to package it and present it to organizations that wanted my skill set. And out of that, hence, is what actually helped me, and we'll talk about that later, to publish the book Rucksack to Briefcase, because it is a transitional guide, or a transitional process, I would say.
All right. And so did you end up going to school after you got out, or were you doing a lot of your school while you were still in the Army?
I actually did it both. I came off active duty originally in 2002 when I left as a recruiter, and I completed my associate's degree, and then I just got enrolled into school to pursue my bachelor's, and you got the deployment orders, or the warrant that you was about to deploy. So I ended up taking advantage of the opportunities that some of the colleges offer, and finished my degree in business at the University of Maryland.
Yeah, so what was the first thing you ended up doing right out of the Army?
Well, when I got out, I actually ended up utilizing my skills in recruiting. So I was able to transition into the oil and gas industry. Quite honestly, I was looking for roles, different positions, and didn't have any experience in the oil and gas, but I did have experience recruiting. So when I sat down before that, those hiring officials, I basically sold myself, hey, this is what I bring to the table. If you need somebody with the skills to match up with a stakeholder of a business owner or a business manager, as well as these transitioning military, I'm the one for the job if you give me the opportunity. So they gave me an opportunity, and I went from there and just started going from there.
So you wrote a book, and you have a company called Rucksack to Briefcase. And how did you find your way into that?
Well, the book, like I said, that came out of me struggling through the transition process. It was 4 months. I was unemployed, trying to figure this thing out, and I wanted to make a guide because when I went through the transitioning, the military is great, but some of the transitioning programs was a little bit challenging, when all I knew was military. And to figure out how to present a guide, one, for myself, but then also to help other service members down the line. And Rucksack to Briefcase is really, Rucksack is symbolic of where you're at, and then the briefcase is where you want to be, whether it's transitioning into corporate America or transitioning into running your own business, which I included a chapter with me being an entrepreneur myself, a chapter on how to go in business for yourself, because I understand not everybody's cut out to work in corporate America, and not everybody's also cut out to do entrepreneurship. But so it's kind of a mix of both of those.
Yeah, actually, veterans are twice as likely to go into business for themselves, and those that do are 35% more likely to succeed than their civilian counterparts in the entrepreneurship realm.
Yeah, and it's funny that you said that because, just looking at, this was some old census material, but, it was from 2007. It's more than like 2 million people at that time, veteran-owned businesses, and 9% of some of the businesses around the country are, service disabled veterans, and so we generate trillions of dollars of revenue, so that tells me, or tells the listening audience, that it's just a tremendous opportunity out there to be a business owner.
All right, so tell us what you offer with Rucksack to Briefcase to veterans.
Okay, what I offer is a transition. I do coaching, I do mentoring. I also do, resume writing for the individual that's struggling on how to write that resume to get in the front door, identifying skill sets. So being able to personally coach someone through a process to bridge the gap of where they're at, that rucksack to briefcase where they want to be. So I basically help them transition from the military mindset into whether it's corporate America or whether it's, into business for themselves.
And so what is it like running your own business and being an entrepreneur? And maybe you could put it in context for us, because you grew up in, not the greatest of circumstances, I understand, in the public housing area of New York City, right?
That's correct.
So take us back to, give us a little bit of background about what growing up was like and how far you've come along in your career in the Army, and now you're actually an entrepreneur.
Yeah, great. Coming up, born and raised, one of 6 boys. Unfortunately, I lost my father early on. So, I had a mother raising 6 boys in the inner city of New York City.
God bless her. Holy cow.
And God bless that all of us are doing well. So that's awesome. But she pressed, education, so I said, well, I was able to land a very good job in New York City with the New York City, one of the largest federal civil service organizations, New York City Transit Authority. So I worked with them. I got in and I accelerated through the ranks. Was promoted to 3 different positions while I was there. But the one thing that kind of woke me up is I think I started at 22, and they said, "Hey, Dylan, in order for you to get yourself a pension, you will need to do 30 years of service and have age 62 to start collecting." So that means I would have had to do 40 years of service in order to realistically get half of what I earned in salary. And to me, that just did not make sense. And I tried to get a couple of days off, and they told me, "Hey, I'm sorry, you're number 10 on the list for today." And I said, "Okay, what about 2 weeks from now?" "Oh, you're number 14 on the list today." And then I had a good friend of mine who introduced me to a network marketing opportunity in the telecommunications industry. It just made sense to me. So I was an independent contractor with that organization. And that was the thing that clicked, because it allowed me to be able to, I can talk to people. The product, I didn't have to convince people to use what they was already using. And then they talked about residual income coming in. I said, that makes sense to me. So at the time, I built an organization, found some leaders, developed those leaders, and we built a national organization. And I ended up actually leaving the New York City Transit Authority. And a lot of people, my mother and friends and family, didn't really understand. So I guess I'd had that entrepreneurial spirit in me from early on. Oh, wow, you're leaving a good job. But it put me in control of my own destiny. It allowed me to take ownership. And was it scary? Of course, there was, because I've had what's false sense of security, which, hey, I got this job and potentially a pension down the line, versus creating my own opportunity, making my own hours, just giving me a little bit more freedom, but it didn't alleviate the risk. So I still had to work if I wanted to eat. I had to hunt if I wanted to eat. And then I incorporated that in the military, and I applied those same principles when I was a recruiter. I said, I can't believe the Army is actually paying me to run my own business. They're giving me an office, a cell phone, and all I need to do is recruit, get customers. And that just made sense to me. And I did very well in that role. And I tried to apply that in any role that I go into, any business opportunity that I go into.
Yeah, what a great American success story. And you mentioned something that comes up quite a bit. When you wanted to leave that transit authority job because you could see more opportunity elsewhere, you said your mom and family and friends thought you were crazy and tried to convince you not to do it. And that's something that entrepreneurs run into all the time, because people see that good job, they see the stability, it's something they can relate to, but they have a hard time relating to what your dream is. And oftentimes the people that have our own best interest in mind are our loved ones and friends, family. They're actually the ones that end up holding us back. And they don't mean to. They're actually trying to look out for us. But in a way, the way they're looking out for us actually is holding us down, keeping us from achieving our dreams. And so it's interesting you touched on that and how you disregarded what they were saying and struck out on your own anyways.
That's for sure, and I agree. They don't want to hurt. They don't want to. They think they're helping in some sense, and in reality, it could be transferring their own fears within themselves.
Absolutely.
But I truly believe an entrepreneur or a leader is eventually going to rise, or it's going to come out.
So after your transition struggles, and I'm glad you mentioned that, because the whole reason I started the Veteran on the Move podcast was for the same reason that you started Rucksack to Briefcase. I learned so much about the world of entrepreneurship and all the things that are available to veterans out there. And even though I'd heard this stuff was available, I'd never actually come in contact with it. And it takes a while to track it all down. And after I was well along my way, I turned around and looked back and thought, you know what? I need to come up with a way of showing all these people, programs, and resources that are out there to assist veterans in their strive to become an entrepreneur. And so it's really, you started your business for this almost the same reason that we started this podcast.
That's correct. And I love the opportunity, especially with the veterans, having a platform to be able to share with the veterans. Because a lot of time when I talk to veterans, they look at it as it's either me or us and them, or us against the civilian. Reality, you've been training, I believe, from day one as an E1 or O1, you're running a business. If you look at it, you're managing people, profits and loss, equipment. That's running your own business, just being able to see outside of that. So I love pouring back into the veteran and letting them know what they actually have and what they bring to the table. And it can just transition nicely into the civilian culture.
And sometimes that's difficult for veterans to realize what they have. Sometimes veterans confuse all these programs and people and companies out there that just they want to hire veterans and they think that something's just going to fall in their lap. I mean, they really have to network, and they have to go get it, and they have to go make it happen. But the veterans need to realize it's there waiting for them, but no one's just going to come along and give it to them. They're going to have to go get it.
It's funny you said networking, and that's one of the mottos that I've included in my book, is that you need to network or not work. I
love that. I'm writing that one down.
And the other thing is, one of the things when I'm interacting with veterans is that the challenge is it can be a double-edged sword. The military has been telling you from day one, this is where you're going for training. This is what you're going to get paid. You're E4, 10 years of service. This is your pay. Well, you're going to PCS to this location. You're going to go to this location. So you grow up in a culture that you depend on people telling you what to do, when you have to take ownership and decide, hey, what is my value to the marketplace? What is it that I want to do? So that's the challenge, is to be able to think outside of that and figure out, hey, I need to take charge of my life now.
Exactly. And that is a tough transition. I still struggle with that myself, because there are days where I have failed to schedule my day. And you know what they say, a day that's not scheduled is a day that's wasted. And when you're in the military, most every day's got something on the training schedule, or you've got something dictated that you're required to do that day. And you get very used to that. And you might think you're still making decisions, you're still making things happen. But overall, that big umbrella, that big blue arrow is defining the direction that you're going in. And once you get out, you're on your own. I mean, even if you have a job, you're still on your own, and you are determining your own destiny. And especially if you go in the entrepreneurial world, you're the one drawing the big blue arrow and determining where the business is going to go. And sometimes that can be scary, because sometimes, matter of fact, you don't really know which way it should go. And then you got to figure out how to network and how to bring other resources and experts in to help guide you along the way. You're still in charge, but you got to go ask for help.
Yeah, and it's actually now today, it's so the playing field is so level. I mean, because you can go into business, especially as a family member or spouse. You can do it part-time with a small investment, full-time with a large investment. From home, online, franchise, storefront. So many opportunities to do it, to even start a business and then just build from there.
You mentioned spouses. I mean, some of the best online entrepreneurs or mobile entrepreneurs out there are spouses of military folks, because they know that they're moving every 2 or 3 years. Sometimes if their spouse is going to a PME school or something, they know they're only going to be there 9 months or a year. So they're constantly on the move, and they've got to come up with something that can stay with them, or they can bring with them no matter where they go, not just in the U.S., but even when they get stationed overseas. And so you've got a huge military spouse network out there that have become phenomenal entrepreneurs doing great things. And they're in support of their veteran spouse member. And even when the kids get older, they've used to that mobile lifestyle. Some of the veteran families are involved in the business also.
And that's just perfect, because years ago, you would have a person that would struggle. You move from one location to another, and it'll be a difficult time for that spouse to pick up employment, because most employers will be looking in, well, you'll probably be leaving 2 to 3 years. So that's a great opportunity that veterans and the spouses have taken advantage of, being able to move and take your business with you.
What does Rucksack to Briefcase offer for veterans out there?
Rucksack to Briefcase offers consultant services. It offers, I can do one-on-one training with individuals, group training, again, resume writing, interviewing techniques, and speaking engagements. I volunteer with an organization, and I train veterans on transitioning, being able to transition. And a lot of times with what I like to do with Rucksack to Briefcase is to talk to individuals, maybe a 30-minute conversation to identify where they're at, and then develop a plan or strategy to help them to get where they need to go. The step-by-step process to get to where they need to go.
So basically, you're offering up anything to do with transition, regardless of what they want to transition to.
That is correct. In fact, I consider myself a transition expert. I mean, because I've went from financial ruins to financial success. I've gone from inner city to in the suburbs. I've gone from employee to entrepreneur. So transition, yes, I can be. Transition is the key, and it's usually being able to identify where you're at and give you a plan to get to where you want to go.
What are some of the trends or themes that you find among some of the veterans you work with in the transition process?
The biggest thing is really not knowing. Some of the top things is not knowing exactly what they want to do.
Mm-hmm.
And that, I think, I'll contribute that too, because the military basically tells you what to do, when to do it, what you're getting paid, where they would want to be, being able to overcome the transitioning or the mindset. And the mindset, it really is the key. And we talked about that, taking ownership versus somebody owes me something, and, so I'm kind of ginger with that piece and letting them know, hey, look, great what you've done, service, I appreciate that, but corporate America may not have a person that, or the business world may not, hey, how can you get this product to me, this service to me, and help me to succeed? And the last thing I would say is, a lot of veterans with the networking we talked about, but being able to humble themselves and ask for help.
Yeah.
Because as a E5, E7, I've led 50, 70, 80 people. I've battalion commander, troop commander. I've led organizations. So I need to just do it. But it's okay to ask for help, because you have people out there that's ready, willing, and able to help and assist with what you're looking to do.
Yeah, I think sometimes veterans don't realize they need help, but there is a lot of things out there, people in the programs, resources, just waiting to help. So all you got to do is ask. Now, what do you offer that your typical ACAP or TAMP, all the different mandatory transition classes that members are required to go through? What do you offer that's different from that?
What I offer is a deeper dive, I think, with the volume of transitioning military. It's more of what I found is that they're going through a checklist. Okay, you did this, you signed off on that, you did that, with not really. I like to take the time, whether it's a group, one-on-one, small group training, is to help the veteran understand, connect the dots with what they've already done. So I explain it to them. So when you go into a job fair, you're going to present yourself to, get a contract or something like that. Talk about a warning order, 5-paragraph warning order. You're going to plan everything you do. So utilize that, research the company, know your audience. So I like to take a deeper dive and then connect those dots for the veterans so they will understand it. And once they understand it, they'll own the process. So I like to teach you how to fish, versus, giving you a fish,
Yeah. Yeah. Do you have any kind of set pricing models or anything like that you can share with us now, or is it individual dependent?
It's individual dependent. Typically what we do is I'll talk with an individual, and that's usually a free consultation, and then we can kind of map a plan out from there. But what I'm working on now is to actually develop sort of like a podcast training and break it out where individuals can tap into where they're at in the process to get them where they need to go.
And how do you approach this mindset that a lot of veterans have? And back me up on this, you've probably experienced this. Are there a lot of veterans that don't think they should have to pay for something like this?
I think it's a split. I think
because I think there is. You get so many guys that are used to having all these free programs given to them and handed to them, and like I said, all the separations classes are mandatory. You have to go through them, and it's free.
Right.
And then there's somebody offering transition services where you have to pay for it.
Right.
You run into that very much?
No, actually, those that want to be more successful, again, because if you keep doing what you're doing and you're getting the same results, then that's insanity. So you want to be able, you have to find something that's going to be a little bit different. One, I can relate. I've actually walked in those steps. I've walked in those boots. I've done, and so I can relate and understand what the individual have done, and for something and making a small investment with themselves today for long-term opportunity for success, I think it's worth it.
And do you have veterans come to you that are not looking for that job? They're actually looking to do something on their own, go into business for themselves, or become an entrepreneur?
I do, and that's part of my conversation. I like to always include that piece in. If veterans, you can always go into business for yourself, because some people may land that first job and don't enjoy the work, and want to do something for themselves. So that is a perfect opportunity to consider starting your own business, leading your own business.
And how long have you been in this coaching, training, helping transition type business?
Well, the business, I think I've been in transitioning and coaching and mentoring throughout my military year, at least last 10, 15 years, but actually coaching and mentoring and volunteering for the last 2 years, going on 2 years. And a lot of times I've done it, I'll do it when I was recruited at the previous oil and gas company. You would get a person to call me and say, "Hey, I just sent you a 7-page resume." I said, "Wow, you're gonna hurt my head with a 7-page resume, because I only can give you 20 seconds of that resume." So I can take that little piece, and so I end up coaching them offline, to kind of help them get to the process, because once they get in the formal process, it's basically on them prior to.
All right. Well, I'd like for you to put in a plug for your business in case somebody wants to contact you for your services and check out your book and everything.
Okay, great. Again, thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. Rucksack the Briefcase is my company. Again, entrepreneur, coach, author, and I can be found on www.civilianside.com. That's CIVILIAN side.com. And I'm actually having my website updated, so my new website will be dylaneraymonds.com, dylaneraymonds.com. But civilian side, you can still reach me, and for direct communications would be 832-301-5110. I say it again, it's 832-301-5110. I'm on LinkedIn. Feel free to reach out and connect on LinkedIn. We have a Rucksack the Briefcase Facebook page. And I'd love the opportunity to talk to listening audience, to help them out, to assist them in any way I can.
All right, Dylan, we're about at the end of our time here. I'd like to give you the last word. And if you had any advice for veterans out there that are looking to transition into entrepreneurship, what would that be?
Well, it would be, yes, going into your own business, there is some risk. But what I would say to you is, you understand risk better than probably the other 99% of the people that have not served. You've accepted risk the day you raised your right hand and took that oath of enlistment. So I say, feel the fear, do it anyway, because it's a great opportunity. What you bring to America, to this world, with your global experiences, on several corners of the earth is what people need to see. You got the integrity, you know how the resiliency, the consistency. So I say, don't be afraid. Continue to educate yourself, connect, collaborate, and network with other veterans as well as other business professionals.
All right, Dylan, great advice. It was great talking with you and hearing your success story. And I look forward to hearing about your future successes.
Great. Thank you so much, Joe.
The Top 7 Paths to Freedom is my free gift to you for listening to the show, featuring 7 great ways for a veteran to take their first step into the exciting world of entrepreneurship. To receive your free gift, go to veteranonthemove.com, or if you're listening on a mobile device, you can text the word veteran to 38470. Thank you for listening to Veteran on the Move, your pathfinder to freedom. If you like the show, leave us a review on iTunes. Reviews are always greatly appreciated. So until next time, this veteran is Oscar Mike.